For this Photoshop photo correction, you are going to use the same file, your finished file, that you did for the curves adjustment layer. So notice that this is already done. Open it up, and before we make any changes, I want to do a file save as to change the name of it. And the only thing that you need to change the name of is where it says curves, change it to hue, saturation. Everything else stays the same. Okay? Now, what we want to do is we want to focus on her eyes. Her eyes are naturally blue, but we want to give them a different shade of blue. Okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure I have the background layer selected, and I'm going to zoom in quite a bit to make her eyes easy to select. I want to use the magnetic lasso tool. I'm going to put on a 3-pixel feather, and I want to choose add to selection since I'm doing both of them. Okay, so I'm going to start off by clicking, and then remember that the magnetic lasso tool works by following the outline of her eye and then connecting back to the middle. And we'll refine the edges in a minute. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. Okay. So I can see that they're not the best selections, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my quick mask mode. Now, quick mask mode utilizes the brush tool. I want to get a soft brush since the edges are feathered, and I'm going to make it a smaller brush size because it's only a little bit that I've got to work on. So if I brush with black, notice how it basically takes away this, takes away from the selection. So I've got to look at the edges and see if anything else should be red. And I think everything has to be taken away from. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to paint a little bit around the edges. And then over here, right there, and maybe I do need a little, oops, a little black. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Right there. And then I can exit quick mask mode and check it again. And I think that's a better selection. Okay? So the next thing I want to do is I want to click on this icon so I can create a hue saturation adjustment layer. Now, I want you to notice that the marching ants are gone. That's okay. You can tell that a selection has been made because you can see it here in this thumbnail on the hue and saturation layer. Now, when we go and look at the properties, we see hue, which is just another name for color. We see saturation, which brightens or increases the intensity of a color. So there's more of that color, less of that color. And then lightness, which you can see here, this direction adds black, this direction adds white. Okay? So we know her eyes are blue, but I want you to notice that if you move the slider, you could change eyes all the way from a demonic red back to blue, purple, green, and down to orange. Okay? Now, I want to go ahead and leave it in the middle because her eyes are blue. I want them to stay blue. I just want to change the amount of blue. So I'm going to look at the saturation slider, and I'm going to up the saturation on it to make them pretty blue. Okay? Or when I say pretty blue, very blue. So right now it's up here at about 27. Now, I don't want to stop there because I can either make them a darker blue, like a navy blue, or I could lighten them up. And again, that's a little demonic, so I'm just going to lighten them to kind of a sky blue. And I'm going to zoom out so I can see them full screen. That might be a little too light there. Maybe more about 3. Okay, but you can see, again, a noticeable color difference. And all it did, it still looks natural. It just lightened up the color that she already had. Okay, so that's how you use the hue and saturation adjustment layer. Remember that we already changed the name of this file to hue and saturation. So I'm going to go ahead and save it again as a Photoshop file to commit the changes. Then I will save as and save it as a JPEG and click OK.